Have you ever been thinking about something and then had something else, seemingly random, pop into your head, and then you just can't seem to stop thinking about it? Sometimes that happens to me when I am preparing my sermons. Take this week, for instance. I had decided to use the reading from Luke, chapter 13, verses 10 through 17, as the inspiration for the sermon. At first glance, the scripture reading seems straightforward. Jesus is teaching. A crippled woman appears before him, and Jesus heals her of her affliction. For the faithful, for Christians, there's nothing really shocking about this passage, is there? We know Jesus is the Son of God. We know that Jesus performed many miracles throughout his life. We know that his death and resurrection were for us, so that we may be forgiven. In fact, if we listen to stories like this one enough, we might even come to take them for granted. They might be too commonplace. We might forget their significance. Now, I'm not saying that has happened or that it will, but certainly the possibility exists. We tend to become complacent or to not notice things after we've been exposed to them for a while. They lose their luster. Something else comes along. It's the new shiny object that always seems to attract our attention. And of course, Jesus did attract attention. He cured the woman on the Sabbath. Shudder. To think someone would do something like that on the Sabbath, in violation of the rules set forth by the leaders of the synagogue, it would be horrible to provide services to someone in need on the Sabbath, right? Think of how that would impact us today. Picture the emergency room doctor saying, "I'm sorry, accidents and illnesses are no longer allowed on Sundays. The emergency room must be closed. Call us back on Monday." Or the farmer telling his cows, "Sorry, girls, I can't milk you today. You'll just have to figure something out." With advances in technology, of course, we might say, well, that's not really an issue. I can Google how to treat my illness, or the cows can just line up and use the robotic milking system. But in Jesus' day, this was truly an aberration. How dare he? And that's why he called out the hypocrites. It's okay to lead a donkey or an ox to a manger for a drink, but here's someone in need, suffering, and it's not okay? You can't offer them assistance? You must look the other way? Which got me thinking. Life is sometimes sweet, and sometimes it's sour. And I mean, pucker your lips, lemon candy sour. And then I thought some more. And I couldn't stop thinking about those little cubes of sugar that used to be everywhere when I was a child. Do you remember those? Sometimes they are called sugar lumps. Technically, and this is probably more than you'll want to know, there are cubes, which are manufactured, and lumps, which are more irregular in shape and size. I can just remember hearing people ask, "How many lumps do you want?" And of course, there were some cartoons with that as well. And depending on the number of lumps, there would be that number of cubes placed in the coffee or the tea that was being served. Times have changed, though. Today, sugar lumps are a form of currency in Cookie Clicker, an online game that lets you bake cookies. But I couldn't stop thinking about them. Not the cookies in the game, but the lumps. I kept being drawn back to the fact that being a Christian is similar. It's sometimes sweet, sometimes too sweet, and sometimes it's difficult. What do I mean? Well, sweet is when things are going well. Life as a Christian is everything that we want it to be. We have our faith, our health, our purpose, which might be our work, our place in the church, or taking care of grandchildren, or tending a garden in retirement. Too sweet is what happens when the taste of the sugar cubes makes someone think that being a Christian is something that can be used, or more often, abused. It's when being a Christian is used as a badge that indicates someone is better than someone else, or it's used to entice others to give of themselves for one's own benefit. We've all seen this before. There are many examples. Lavish lifestyles, homes, and cars. Being a Christian isn't meant to be used as a means to enrich oneself financially. And then there's the difficult part, which is kind of like swallowing a sugar cube when it's only partially dissolved. The sugar cube that isn't fully dissolved can be a little scratchy on the throat. It might even get stuck on its way down, making it necessary to sip more coffee or tea. The sweetness of the sugar is quickly forgotten because the feeling is anything but good. And then there are times when that is exactly what being a Christian is like, and why today's scripture reading is so important. Jesus wasn't just healing a woman. He wasn't just doing it on the Sabbath. He was demonstrating that he wasn't fearful of the consequences. He wasn't going to miss an opportunity to do what was right. He had the courage to go against the grain. He wasn't necessarily challenging authority, although I suppose in a way he was, but not outwardly. It's more like what Grace Hopper referred to when she said, "It's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to get permission." And that took courage. The courage to do what was right because it was the right thing to do. As Christians, we are called to do that every day. We are challenged to love God, to love our neighbors, to forgive others, to seek forgiveness. But wait, there's more. We are challenged to pray, to trust, to have faith, and of course I could keep going. Those are some pretty weighty challenges. They certainly aren't for the faint of heart, especially when it comes to the actions that we need to make them a reality. Let's look at forgiveness, for example. How do we forgive the person who has wronged us? Maybe that person has told a lie about us, or just spread a rumor. Maybe that person has stolen from us. Maybe that person has done the unthinkable and hurt someone close to us, or worse. The natural inclination is to think, nope, I can't forgive so-and-so. Then we might think about it, or we might hear a voice telling us that we should forgive. Then what happens? Well, we think about forgiving, and then we think, I can't do that. What would so-and-so think? Or would so-and-so think less of me if I forgave that person? Or, well, if I do that, it's just going to open the door for it to happen again. All of those thoughts are fear-based. We are afraid of the consequences. What we are being asked to do, at least what I think we're being asked to do, is to have courage. To do what others think isn't possible, that can't be done, to go against the grain. And so that's what makes being a Christian difficult. Every challenge that we have can cause us to become fearful, and it takes courage to overcome them. That's part of what I think Jesus was trying to convey through his actions. And to think, all of that led me to thinking about sugar lumps. God bless, and have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. I'll see you next week.